You mentioned that whenever you go to Turkey, to London, to these events, there's a shift that happens in your head in terms of what you'd be pitching. I'm interested to learn or to hear from you what are the differences in these markets, like as opposed to Turkey and to London and to like Europe in general.
Yeah.
How do we compare, in your opinion? I mean, in the region, how do we compare as gaming businesses? And do we even compete?
Listen, okay, there's advantages and disadvantages, to be honest. There's an advantage of being here, right? You get the advantages of emerging markets, basically, when it comes to gaming. So there's a lot less competition, 100% for sure. VCs or investors willing to get into gaming, specifically focus on international plays, here being international. This is a perfect opportunity for you to be in front of them here. When you're fundraising back in the US, it's way more difficult. All your ratios, your metrics, your cost structures, your models, everything's a bit off than what you're used to. Ticket prices are just way higher there, which is another, maybe not a Middle East issue, maybe it's a global gaming thing, but you can find two studios building similar games with 5x difference in production costs. And you wonder what's going on. So being here is interesting because it kind of removes all that. But at the same time, when it comes back to your question about, I don't think one is easier or more difficult. There's cons and pros, in all honesty. However, there's way more supply of investors and VCs in Europe and in the US. Way more, right? So you're able to go out there and essentially sell your story a lot quicker and find a perfect fit or a good fit investor a lot faster. As long as, of course, you have all your metrics, you have your... Because see, VCs, that's one thing. And then VCs over there know what they're looking for.
They're focused on gaming.
They're focused on gaming. And not even gaming. Within gaming, the market is segmented into like, early stage, late stage, portfolio plays, whatnot. So they know what they want, even down to the genre, right? For example, some VCs or like some investors are, company are publishers only, right? Well, I don't think investors, but let's say specific type of developers, specific genre, some are, tech plays or infrastructure plays in gaming. So it's like a very focused thing. And if you check their boxes, you have a foot in the door. Here, VCs are a bit more general gaming. So now they're looking at console, they're looking at mobile, they're looking at a couple of different genres, looking at multiplayer, single player, and that I think makes it hard for them to have conviction once you pitch your story to them, because it's always going to be a new story.
Interesting. I'm happy you mentioned publishers because actually I was having a conversation a couple of days ago with a friend of mine about the difference between like normal startups and gaming startups in general. Yeah. And it was hard for me to explain or to find the alternative of a publisher in the startup world. Like, you like you mentioned, a publisher could be an investor but might not be an investor at the same time. What is a publisher like for those who are watching from not from the gaming industry? What could be compared to a publisher in the normal world, like in the tech ecosystem?
So I think it's important to answer that question in different silos. So platform specific, right? So a mobile game publisher is a little bit different than your console publisher, a little bit different than your PC publisher. I'd like to say maybe, again, I don't have that much experience in console and PC, but I'd like to feel that they're more similar than a mobile game publisher. So mobile game publisher is very different. And I think it's because, a publisher's main role is to publish, which is basically mean to grow and scale your game. They invest marketing dollars or resources to grow your game. Now, I feel that the user acquisition story in mobile is extremely different than it is in PC and console. Yeah. So that lends their operations, even their finances, and the way they evaluate projects is extremely different. In mobile specifically, at the end of the day, they're looking at your cost per install, your CPI, and then your LTV, and essentially your return on ad spend from their spend. So they know I'm going to spend $1, I'm going to make $2. And they want to see that equation. And then they factor in scalability in your team and market a lot of different things. So that's your mobile publisher. So
they're essentially a marketing agency in the game space.
Yeah, I don't want to say the word marketing agency, but yes, right? They're spending the dollars and they're taking a revenue share at some point. Now, where they start working with you in the development cycle is what sets them apart. So some publishers, like on the hyper-casual part, will only invest their money after they have proven the metrics. So you build your game, you give it to them, they test it, they look at the numbers, and they make a decision, we will invest or not invest. And then you have, those are hyper casual games, but then you have some games like mid-core games or higher production value games. Those cost a lot of money to go build out. So some of these publishers might come in a bit earlier in the conceptualization phase of the game, or maybe even the prototype phase of the game. They can, I mean, every publisher is very different.
No.
And then they partner up with you if they believe in the team, they believe in the market, and they believe you're going to do something well. And they support you, and they actually give you a budget for development. So every publisher is different, and it depends on the time. So over the past 5 years, the market really shifted, from iApp monetization to ads monetization. Now we're going back to iApp monetization. Premium model back in the day, free to play forever. Now we're still free to play, but the mix is a bit different. So also depending on the timing, the publisher's role also has to adapt to those markets. And I think also there is a movement into self-publishing. And I don't have data to back this up, but I start recognizing smaller studios saying, heck, let's just raise our own little funding and then do what publishers are doing themselves, because the tools and the automation and the data is now all there. I can do everything myself. So without getting into too much details, I hope that answers the question.
Yeah, maybe like I mentioned that the publisher is like a marketing agency in the traditional, not traditional, but like in the tech ecosystem. But that marketing agency actually shares the revenues with you. So I think this is the closest thing to a publisher that we have in the normal world. So we talked about publishers, their role, how important they are. We've discussed also VCs, like investors, their role and how important they are. Now, what about talent?